رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Selamun alaikum. Inshallah, we are planning to continue with 17th word. This is a supplication which occurred to me in Persian. In my book, it starts at 225. As far as I remember, we finished 225 to 26. Maybe we can start from the last paragraph, the 226, and then continue with 227. So again, this is 17th word and section, a supplication which occurred to me in Persian. Should we start with what the human weapon called the faculty of will, but lacks power? Any other ideas?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. But the human weapon called the faculty of will both lacks power and its range is short. And it is inaccurate. It cannot create, and apart from acquiring, can do nothing. Belief causes the faculty of will to be employed in God's name and makes it sufficient before everything may face. Like when a soldier employs his insignificant strength on account of the state, he can perform deeds thousands of times greater than his own strength. It can neither penetrate the past nor discern the future. And in regards to my hopes and fears concerning these was of no benefit. Belief takes its reins from the hand of the animal body and hands them over to the heart and spirit, and may therefore penetrate the past and the future, for the sphere of life of the heart and spirit is broad. The arena of the faculty of will is brief, present time, and the passing present instant. The arena of the faculty of the will is brief, present time, and the passing present instant. Thus, despite all my needs and weakness, want and poverty, and my wretched state induced by the horrors and terrors arising from the six aspects, clearly written on the page of my being by the pen of power and included in my nature, were desires stretching to eternity and hopes spreading throughout the eternity.
So last time we discussed somehow or somewhat about this first two paragraphs. I'll just reread them, and if you would like to have any comments on that. But the human weapon called the faculty of will both lacks power and its range is short. And it is inaccurate, it cannot create, and apart from acquiring, can do nothing. The acquiring in here is the word kasb in Arabic. Belief causes the faculty of will to be employed in God's name and makes it sufficient before everything it may face, like when a soldier employs his insignificant strength on account of the state, he can perform deeds thousands of times greater than his own strength. It can neither penetrate the past nor discern the future. And in regard to my hopes and fears concerning these, was of no benefit. Belief takes its reins from the hand of the animal body and hands them over to the heart and the spirit, and may therefore penetrate the past and the future. For the sphere of life of the heart and spirit is broad. So for me, this second two paragraph is maybe what should be better discussed today, because I remember somewhat we discussed the first two paragraphs, but if you would like to have any comments about the first two. I have one question regarding the first deep note, which is second paragraph. Belief causes the faculty of will to be employed in God's name and makes it sufficient before everything it may face, like when a soldier employs his insignificant strength on account of the state, he can perform deeds thousands of times greater than his own strength. So this part I'm not sure I can follow. because the problem with our own will, that it doesn't have any power. Then he's giving this example of the soldier. So it sounds as if I rely on God's will, whatever I want will happen.
Well, then let's ask the question, how can I employ faculty of will in God's name?
So I guess that's the part that I don't understand. Because in soldier example, if soldier really has the power of the state behind, wherever he goes, and his every sentence is taken as an order. So it's not the case for us. So what kind of analogy is there?
So since he's using the metaphor or the phrase of "in the name of God," just this reminds me of the very first word where he talks about Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and he says everything acts on his name. So we should be acting on his name as well, he says in there. And he expands what it means to say in his name. So starting in his name was being aware that whatever I am doing is not because of me, but because of him. He was giving the example of, let's say, the leaves or the roots coming to a stone, and then the stone just explodes. He was saying that the stone is acting on his name. And when it comes to me, I am doing any action. How can I make it for the name of God, in the name of God? Just trying to go back to there, it's going to be more like, I am willing to do something, I'm trying to do something, but I have no power, nothing to accomplish this. So having this consciousness might, this is just, I'm giving it a try, might be the way for me to do it in the name of God, saying that I am aware of the fact that I have nothing to accomplish this goal. So I'm just asking, in a sense, from my Creator. So this is how maybe we are utilizing our free will in the name of God. Making it, because this is how we concluded last week, as far as I remember, using free will, use of free will as a supplication. This was last week's conclusion. So I don't know if this is how we use it in the name of God.
Going back to this first word, so there, the approach we took, and it's been years, I guess our concern at that time was more of how do you explain what you observe? How do you explain what you observe? So we were taking something existent into account and trying to explain it. Just like the examples with leaves or stones, rootlets of plants. And when we try to explain it without using the name of God or without making connection with the God, there was no explanation. So as far as I remember, in the name of God had a big explanatory capacity. When you take something existent and try to explain it, how it happens, the only explanation boils down to in the name of God. So this approach I can follow. For instance, I can say that, okay, I have some regrets for my past. I have some expectations for my future, some fears. And I can still explain all these emotions as well in the name of God. And my state makes sense in the name of God. The way this text started The author was saying he had some problems. He was trying to solve these problems. When he relied on his own will, he couldn't solve them. Now, he's saying that we should rely on God, God's will, and problems will be solved. At least, like in a basic term, that's how I see the text. So what I'm trying to say is, it's not about the explanation anymore. It's about like finding a solution for a problem. So how are we going to use this in the name of God to solve that problem?
Can you repeat the last question maybe again?
So I can understand how to use in the name of God, using in the name of God as a methodology. I can understand how to use this method to explain something that I observe, that I experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't understand, at least for now, how to use this method in the name of God to solve my problems. Like, let's say, my fears for future.
You can or you cannot?
I cannot.
In the example that he gives, he talks about the soldiers, like maybe it is more relevant to us if we say policeman. When police, especially with their car behind you and turn the lights on in the traffic, they can do anything they want because they are performing a duty and they are relying on the power of the state. But the same policeman, if he is off duty and you come across with him on the street, the same person, nothing changes, would he have the same kind of authority over you?
No, he wouldn't.
So, like, in reality, like, it is the same person, as a physical strength, nothing changes in that sense. But your relationship with him changes completely, right? So, like, when it comes to relying on your own free will versus understanding the all-powerful one, who is control of everything, it is not any different than that relationship, like between the person. So if that is the case, then I don't know why it should be like really difficult not to really put this in practice in any problem that you have in life. So in a sense, like if you have an emotional distress, financial distress, like physical distress, whatever it might be, there will be, again, like two ways to approach it. Like one, trying to solve your own problem yourself, relying on your own free will, and trying to control every single, let's say, causal chain or causal relationship, versus knowing that none of the causes is really the answer, or they actually have any kind of like real effect on the things, and knowing the real maker of the experience that you go through. I don't see like really any difference, like other than like you are more like looking internally rather than like talking about the things like around you.
So going back to the first word again, in there he was, after telling us about the trees and the leaves and the roots, he was saying that they are acting on the name of God. We should also act on the name of God, he says in there. And he was saying that we should give in his name, take in his name, so on and so forth. So giving and taking is, in a sense, our internal and external relations, if you will. So in general, for example, when I give do I give in my own name or in somebody else's name? So still I am using my free will to give someone, but if I give in his name, how do I give in his name? For example, talk about giving some charity, since this is the first thing that comes to mind. when I, let's say, give $50 to a poor person, do I give it in my own name, meaning that this is out of my mercy that I'm giving this to you? Or do I say that my desire to give it to you, the feeling of pity that I am now giving this money with, is also given to me by someone. This money is also given to me by someone. Ability to give is given to me by someone. And I am giving to you on his name because I am nothing but just a tool, if you like, between him and you, a mirror of manifestation. And knowing that I am giving this $50 to you. So in this sense, I am utilizing my free will in his name. I'm not saying that the free will is also given to me, and with this free will, I am giving it to you. I am making a choice, but even the choice, being able to make the choice, is not an innate ability in me. The ability to choose is also given to me. Because I would say, well, I might have rejected as well. He says, well, the very act of choosing is also given to me. So, and with this choice that he gave to me, so I am giving this $50 to you. So I guess this might be a way to say that I am now utilizing the choice in his name as well, instead of saying that, no, the choice is innately mine, and it's not a tool that is given to me. It is part of me, and I am now, by utilizing this free will, so that I can gain something, some credits out of it.
First time read the paragraph, belief causes the faculty of will to be employed in God's name. I guess the difficulty I had, it reads as if author suggesting, like if you want to do something, like changing something in past or gaining something in future, your will cannot do it. So try to convince God, and with his will, he will do it.
That's not how I understand.
Sure, I mean, I'm sure that it's not the what author suggests there, but to me it reads as if he's suggesting that when I first read it. So then my question, like, how do I utilize God's will to achieve something?
To teach it at Harvard.
Yes. But then, through your explanations, to the two of you, then maybe he's saying then, first start reanalyzing your situation in the name of God. Like whatever you have, it is from God, including the problem.
Just something very quick, like just reminder. The very first paragraph, the end of the very first paragraph, are your ills not sufficient as cure for you? We talked about this like for a long time. So maybe we should keep that in mind, like when we are studying the rest of the text. In other words, like when it comes to like establishing a relationship with the Creator and like how I am supposed to practice my free will, it is not necessarily for like, oh, okay, like I have this affliction on me, I want you to remove it, like from my experience. It's not that kind of, I don't think it's that kind of relationship. So it's not, at least that's how I understand, like, okay, like, since you are the absolute power and you can do anything you want, and I want this instead of this, so you create it for me. That would be, to me, it would be very simplistic. In the sense, like, what the experiences that you are going through, most likely those experiences are not going to change. But yours always comes back to the same thing. Your interpretation of the experiences will differ.
Your perception will change.
Yeah, it comes down to that, yeah.
I see.
I don't want to use that word again and over and over again, but
so should I then
maybe
go for
should I give a very practical example, because it just happened to me today at work. My boss called me to his office and told me that the other engineer that I am working with, went to the plant manager and complained about me and my boss that we are not working hard enough.
It's probably true, but go ahead.
I don't know. So this is the event, right? There are a lot of free wills, if you like. There are many free wills involved in the event. So here is the case study. How would you really deal with it? Would you try to fix the problem and deal with the issue on your own, or would you just rely on God's wisdom and will and power and seek refuge in His wisdom? So, like, let's just break it down. If I am to rely on my own power to handle the situation, I had to deal with the guy who made a false claim. I had to deal with the emotions and probable misconception of the plant managers. And I had to deal with my own emotions and my boss's emotions. So put all this in a picture, and probably there are other these are the main characters in the scene, and there are others also involved in the scene. So this is a scenario that in order for you to gain whatever you want to gain out of this, you need to convince every single one of those people, and in a way that you're not going to damage your relationship with the one that you are working, because most likely he's going to continue to be there. So you have to work together. But at the same time, you want to convince your own boss, plant manager, that this is not who you are. So he usually knows your true self. So if you think about all those relationships, the politics and everything that you have to play, that's very overwhelming. As opposed to, this is what I was thinking during my lunch break. Knowing what is right, whatever your capacity is, as well as when it comes to what your responsibilities are. Knowing what's right and trying to do to your best ability to put that in practice, and leave everything else to God to handle all the rest of the emotion and the politics that seemingly you may feel like you have to deal with. That is the way that I understand what was it? Giving up on your will. So I don't know, to me that's something since it is fresh, it is something very practical, and I think really it's fits what it's a good case study for the subject that we are studying.
So in this case, when you forego your own will, you mean you're not trying to change the reality, you're not trying to take things into control, but instead you're trying to interpret what's happening in front of you in the name of God.
That's the thing. You cannot change the reality because it is already taking place. Somebody already made a complaint about you. So that's the fact that you cannot change it anymore. And maybe that's not really the purpose at all to change that situation, because this is the event that you need to go through to place your trust in God and rely on Him and on His wisdom. Or you can think that that's another approach. I have to control the situation because if they fire me, then I'm not gonna have a job, then I have responsibilities, I need insurance, and all things in your in the back of your mind. So as if you are the provider of yourself and your family versus God being the provider. So you can think of the situation in many different aspects, with different names.
So this reminded me something about myself. So when I try to solve a problem, I want to take it in isolation, meaning okay, I believe in God and He created everything, He creates everything constantly, but let's solve this problem in a traditional way, and let's just get the outcome as I wish. and then I can continue relying on God. So I guess that's the
Not in that specific
yes,
moment.
that in that specific moment in the problem, and I guess that's the real problem, because you're not relying on in the name of God, relying on God when it comes to interpreting the situation. Like at the step 0, you're doing the mistake. Thus, it seems to you as if it cannot be solved, unsolvable. Then we can continue, I guess, with the paragraphs that you were referring to.
It can neither penetrate the past nor discern the future, and in regard to my hopes and fears concerning these, was of no benefit. Leaf takes the reins of free will from the hand of the animal body and hands them over to the heart and the spirit, and may therefore penetrate the past and the future, for the sphere of life of the heart and spirit is broad. So he talks about 3 different life forms: life of animal body, life of spirit and heart. What does that mean?
So I guess even if we cannot figure out the differences between those or get their exact definition, I think one thing is clear, that he's saying that most of the time you're trying to use your free will in the name of your animal body. And he's saying that this is the problem. It's not given to you to satisfy your animal body. It is given to you for some other reasons, which he calls as satisfying heart and spirit. Or, let's say, for the concerns regarding life of heart and spirit. Because even with my previous questions, like when I said I have a problem in hand and I'm trying to solve, so I cannot solve with my own will, I will rely on God's will, and how? That was the question. But when I was thinking about a problem, the problem was it's related to my animal body. All the problems that I was thinking, how I can get this kind of pleasure or that kind of pleasure, how I earn more money or secure my future financially. And I guess here he's saying that there's already a problem, like forget about solving this problem of your animal body. The fact that the only thing you think about is your animal body is already a problem. And free will is not there for your animal body.
How do you understand that?
So if we take it in the way that it was told before, so the free will is now being used for the interpretation of the events. Something is happening, and I am using my free will to interpret them. What does it mean? How does it point to the maker? Or how? I am trying to make sense of life. I am trying to make sense of the events that are taking place. Or ultimately, I am trying to make sense of where I am going to, because I am dying, and this is my number one concern. Where am I going to? So the free will, as far as I understand from our discussions, is a tool that should be used for interpreting or finding an answer to those questions, instead of saving the day, saving the moment. Just if I'm using my free will as a weapon to make most out of this moment, he says this is not a proper tool for making the most out of the moment. But if I'm using it as a tool for interpreting the symbols in the reality, to see the reality itself, then it doesn't have to be used for the moment. I can use it for the past, I can use it for my dreams about the future as well. Because even my dreams about the future, yes, those things do not exist in themselves, but my dreams exist. I'm imagining something. So my imagination is a reality, sort of. So I can interpret what does imagination means, or why am I imagining such a thing? Why am I going through this imagination, this desire, which is not fulfilled yet? So
then anything that comes into my experience right now, either the memories of the past or the imaginations of the future or whatever I'm going through at the moment, and I can make use of my free will to interpret them. So that means then this tool becomes useful for a whole time span. It's not just for the moment. And what I understand from the life of heart and spirit in this sense, if I take it like that, is my spirit and heart, my aspect that he describes as spirit and heart, becomes this more, I would say, maybe eternal aspect of me, which is not really bounded by space and the time.
What is melekut in English?
Melekut?
Mm-hmm. Because that was the word that I was thinking. Life of the spirit and the heart was referred to the melekut aspect of the beings, which means when you talk about the past and the future, you mostly kind of refer to your emotional aspect of yourself, because you are emotionally connected to both ends. You are emotionally connected to the people that you love, that you leave behind, and you are also emotionally connected to the things. For example, we talked about imagination, things that you like, where you want to go, what you want to achieve. This is where that eternity comes into play, because the number of the needs and wants in that sense is endless, and they are not bound with immediate moment.
The very fact that our concerns are about our future or past, I guess it's already a sign showing us that your worries, your real problems, it's not about, or it's nothing related to your animal body, because animal body, as you were saying, is bounded by the moment. So that means I have some other aspects which can go to past, just you said, the memories, or which can go to the future, like imagination. So I guess it means that our real problems is about these aspects of us. It's not about our animal body. Although we maybe experience the problem as if it's related to my animal body, like I'm hungry or I want to have fun. But deep down, the problem is about our future and past, which means the problem relates to our heart or spirit. So whatever solution you are looking for, it should relate to this eternal aspect. So I guess it shows us that the free will, if you want to use free will or God's will, you should try to use it in the realm of this eternal being, which is heart or spirit. Even when our worries are simple enough, like being hungry, it doesn't stop there. Even when we are eating,
deep inside, being hungry, it's not about we are not really worried about hunger. We are worried about the continuation of your existence.
Yes.
But since we are so stuck with the materialistic worldview or understanding, we take everything in terms of the bodily comfort. We are bodily comfortable in the moment. That's almost becomes an addiction of the best. That's what we are looking for. As if that is the way man is only consistent of the body itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you are, in a way, you are kind of imprisoning yourself in the moment, in that sense.
I think what I'm saying is, even if you think that you bound yourself or constrain yourself in the moment, you don't do it. You cannot do it. Even when you complain about hunger, for instance, what you are really complaining regards to your future. Because at least when I observe an animal, I don't see an animal being concerned about hunger. If it can find a food, it will eat the food. If it cannot find a food, it will look for food.
That's where it's like the point where we should be practicing the free will. Like, no matter what, you're going to go through those experiences, but those experiences mean something to you, which is related to your own very essential concerns or worries. Like, for example, as simple as like being hungry. It's not just necessarily just for the body craving for something. It is actually like, it is there to show you that you actually want eternity. That is the reason why you just keep eating, because you want like your existence to continue. Problem is, you just leave it there. You don't take beyond it and ask the question like, and try to decipher some sort of meaning out of that experience that will satisfy the like famous term, the human aspect of yourself. Because that is the aspect that is concerned with the meaning of the existence too.
Let me read it again. It can neither penetrate the past nor discern the future, and in regard to my hopes and fears concerning this was of no benefit. Belief takes its reins from the hand of the animal body and hands them over to the heart and the spirit, and may therefore penetrate the past and future, for the sphere of life of heart and spirit is broad. Unless anyone wants to say something on that, we can continue. Again, just what I understand is when your real worries is not about the moment, but it's mostly about the past and the future. Or maybe another way to say is your worries are eternal, concerns your eternal life. Your worries extend their hands to your future and your past.
Let me just very briefly explain what I understood from this paragraph. Mm-hmm. Your animal body is stuck with the present because you are completely dependent on his power, and his power is manifesting instantaneously. So you cannot get out of that circle whatsoever. So that is, as far as your material existence is concerned, you are nothing but his reflection of his power, and it's a continuous process and always instantaneous. But as far as your heart and spirit, in your nature, you are connected to the past and the future. And the reason there is no past and future for the bodily existence is because there is a continuous manifestation of the power.
Every single moment.
Every single instant, whatever that happens.
I was thinking of, I guess in the tradition there's this notion that if a person converts into Islam after a certain life period, his sins are erased. So now if we think about that, this person made wrong choices, wrong decisions, wrong interpretations up until this point of time. And even in the Quran, there's verses like, يُبَدِّلُ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنَاتٍ. God exchanges their bad deeds with good deeds. So now, apparently things are totally changing upside down. And as if appears that this guy messed up so bad up until this point, but his bad credits are now turning into gold coins somehow. It reminds me of the way that now he's explaining, because up until this point of time, this person was living his life as, if we take converting into Islam or accepting or submitting to the Creator, to the will of the Creator, and achieving this conviction, this belief, now this person is starting to interpret the reality in a true way. Now he used to live his life with his animal appetite so far. He was just living the moment. But now he is starting to interpret the things. He is learning to start interpreting the things in the right way. And now he's going to turn back to his past as well, his or her past, and now reinterpret what was done wrong at that point. And then those wrongdoings are going to become meaningful things for this person, because you can equally learn from good experiences and bad experiences. And he or she really messed it up at the past. And now he or she can make sense of what was right, what was wrong at that point. And somehow he or she ended up doing that. And he knows that from his perspective at that point, the decision was wrong. Therefore, he also now knows and says that if I was given a second chance, I would take the other path. Because now I know what is right path, how to interpret the things in the right way. Now, then, it's over. The important thing is to learn. This is how it goes with the exams, for example. At the end, you go to the professor and say, oh, now I see. He says, okay, this is what was the point. You learning, so you are good. Go. I'm not failing you any further, because my aim was to teach you something and you learned it. So good for you. So same applies to here. So then living the life of heart and spirit is to become this sort of a Muslim, if you like, or a believer, which learns how things point to him, not to the things themselves, not to my animal appetite. Because in some other places, Darwin Nursi gives the example of two persons entering into the presence of a king, and the king gives them the gift of an apple. So one of the men just takes the apple and starts eating the apple right at the spot, because he loves the apple. The other person says that the taste of apple is very much limited, and the real value of this apple is in the king giving it to me as a gift. So he puts the apple on top of his head to show his gratitude. So the first person is really living in the animal body, because he is only interested in the taste of the apple, which is going to disappear in a half minute. But the second person is now living at the level of heart and spirit, or living a spiritual life, if you like, with a use of notation. So, and now this person, even if the apple rots and disappears after some point, he consumed or didn't consume whatsoever. But for him, the apple is a gift. And this giftness of apple will stay even if the apple disappears, because he would know that I received an apple once upon a time from the king. And this never disappears. He can go to the past 20 years down. He can go and talk to his grandchildren, tell about this, what happened in the past. I once received the king's favor. So I guess in this sense we can say that becoming a believer, becoming a Muslim is what it really means to live in the spirit and the heart, which now also makes sense with the verses and the narrations which says once you convert into Islam, all your past wrongdoings are erased or even converted into good deeds.
So
Lens.
Can we take it the other way around and say that if you think or if you believe, see the reality of your past deeds, bad deeds, cleansed, did you say cleansed? Cleansed. If you experienced it, then it means you are converted to Islam. Yes. So it's like in Quran, God gives us a sign of conversion. At the moment you reconsider your past, your regrets, and see them in the name of God, and then they become a gift for you, like all these regrets even, then this is the moment you converted to Islam.
The irony of the faculty of will is brief, present time and the passing and present instant. Thus, despite of all my needs and weakness, want and poverty, and my wretched states induced by the horrors and terrors arising from the sixth aspect, clearly written on the page of my being by the pen of power, and included in my nature, were desires stretching to eternity and hopes spreading through the eternity. This paragraph is long, complete sentence. I'm like, where's the verb here? I'm kind of lost with this. Thus, despite all my needs and weaknesses, and want and poverty, and my wretched states induced by the horror and terrors arising from the six aspects, clearly written on the page of my being by the pen of power, and included in my nature, were desires stretching to eternity and hopes spreading through eternity.
Yes, I'm trying to see. When it says word desires stretching to eternity, so what is the subject of?
That's what I was looking for.
Word?
So that's not the sentence is the subject.
There is something wrong with this sentence.
Clearly written on the page of my being were desires.
Clearly written on the page of my being by the pen of power. Just your desires. No, doesn't make sense.
It was clearly written. So he says, now I am turning back looking to myself. And clearly written on the page of my being is, is desires stretching to eternity, and there are hopes that are spreading through eternity.
So, did you get it, Osman?
I got it, but why did they come up between the nature and word? Maybe it doesn't matter, we don't really need to discuss the grammar of it, but let's just focus on the meaning aspect, but just grammatically, just was hard to read.
In the Turkish version, it's so clear. I don't know how she managed to get this in English, but it says, thus, despite all my needs and weakness, want and poverty, and my wretched state, what is it? Okay, yes. Thus, despite all my needs and weaknesses, want and poverty, and my wretched state induced by the horrors and terrors arising from the sixth aspect, despite all these, my desires stretching to eternity and hopes, my desires stretching to eternity and my hopes spreading through eternity were clearly written on the page of my being by the pen of power.
That's a better translation.
Yeah. So, but the point is, actually, thank you for clarification, because he's saying something really important. He says, although I have all these problems or horrors, terrors induced by all these six aspects, through the glasses of belief, I see that my desires and hopes, which are stretching to eternity, they are also written by the pen of power. So everything comes from God. So I should read my desires, my weaknesses, my horrors, terrors, everything in the name of God. Right? This is what he said.
Having the consciousness of the fact that everything is by being written by the absolute power.
Also, in a sense, he is, on the other hand, saying that although my desires are, my will is not really working out, on the contrary, I am forced to, or entrapped into those needs. There is no escape for me from them. This is why he says, by the pen of power and within my nature, I found myself in this condition. I cannot get out of that, and apparently the only tool that I can save myself is broken. My free will doesn't work out.
So I see. Then he highlights the tension from one hand. In one hand, I know that I don't have any solution to any of my problems, and wherever I look, I see death. It's coming for me, right? He's talking about the horrors and terrors. This is my state, but at the same time, all my desires and hopes stretch to eternity, so as if I can do something. Like my desires are endless, at the same time I'm so weak. And there's a big tension between these two.
If you read these last two paragraphs together, the irony of the faculty of will is brief, present time and passing present instant. Together with the next paragraph, another meaning that I understand, your free will is just so powerless that you cannot even control of your own very innate things. You have no control over those very innate essential things that you experience. So three things, on one hand, you are dreadful about the experiences, about the death that you are approaching or you are going through day by day. And on the other hand, you are attached to eternity in your nature. And what we have is free will, but free will has no control over whatsoever on both sides. You cannot control the death, and you cannot control having that need for eternity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I guess the key point here is when he says, my being by the pen of power. So this absurd state that you are in, you want to solve your eternal problems, but at the same time you are so weak.
Somebody's driving you in that state all the time.
Yeah. And this absurd state also given to you by a pen of power. So there is something behind it. There's a wisdom. It's not happening randomly. It's not arbitrary. It is written. So I guess he's trying to say that read your situation. Because it is written. Right? Read it. Ikra.
It is not written. It is being written.
It is being written, yes. So you should read it. It should take you somewhere.
And one thing, up to this point, the main emphasis was on death when he was looking for the 6 aspects. Now he comes up with this extra problem of the desires, and the desires are also there. Death is a big problem. Actually, it is the source of all the problems. But on top of that, now there is this second aspect of problem, which is I want everything, and I cannot control myself not to want them. It's a hardwired desire for everything is in me. And still, when I cannot achieve them, the pain is also inevitable. In addition to the problem of death, now comes the problem of desires, endless desires, hardwired endless desires.
It's like, if you think about it, it's like a trap. You're constantly trying to achieve something, and at the same time, you're constantly running away from something. But yet, whoever designed the system, designed in a way that you cannot get away from it.
it feels like a very geniusly designed torture. Because, for example, think about torturing someone with water. If the desire for water is hardwired, you have to drink water. So somebody gave you the desire for water, and now passing next to you keeps drinking water, and you didn't drink water for 3-4 days. So think about how it feels, and this is how it is in this life. So think about all the things that you desire for, and how much of it you receive. Just to make the previous example, this person, you have this deep desire for water. He feeds you with salty things and just gives you enough for not to kill you. So you survive, just gives you very little, bare minimum water. He keeps drinking water in front of you, or watermelons and all the grapes and everything.
I think there is a verse actually describing the situation now. Like when he described the state of hell, it is somewhere just like you get thirsty, but you just keep drinking. But whatever you drink, increase your thirst, not quenching your thirst. Actually, that's a very good point. It came to like that is hell.
So then this becomes another huge problem, and as if we don't take, as he is describing, the belief into account, life becomes as such. It is a very geniusly designed
Life becomes hell. Yeah.
torture. They call it this Chinese torture is famous, so this is much more genius than Chinese torture.
If you don't take it in the name of God. But once you realize that it's being written just specifically for you, and it has a meaning that you can follow, that you can read, then it changes its shape.
Because if we take it practically, as he will do actually, human desires everything. When you see a plane, you say, wow, it would be awesome if I was on that plane over the clouds. You see some of your friends sending you a selfie from the other side of the world. He's enjoying the best food, whatever. You immediately say, wow, I would be there eating this kebab from Kinger Kebab, whatever. I mean, all sorts of things. Immediately you just want it. I mean, it's hardwired. And there's no limit to that. I mean, practically it's impossible to achieve. Practically it's impossible to achieve this. Even if you are filthy rich, like Mr. President, you cannot even get 1 out of 1,000 of all those possible desires. I look at the images of those people in the International Space Station. It looks like they're chilling out there, enjoying their time in the space station, zero gravity. But only 6-7 people out of 7 billion is going there. So it's not possible for me to go there in this lifetime. So impractical, it's not possible. But the desires are always there.
It's such a desire, for instance, doesn't have any utility. I mean, if you take it as just it's a desire, which haphazardly happens, and if you only look from a utilitarian perspective, it doesn't have any utility. Why do you have the desire? It should have been very easy for you to just get rid of it or discard it. But it's not. And this is true for every human being. It's not abnormality for you. It's obvious that it is there for a reason.
Otherwise it becomes torture.
Yes, otherwise it becomes a torture.
Otherwise life becomes meaningless, life becomes absurdity. The very being life that I experience becomes absurd. Either I'm going to say that this is chaotic, this is nonsensical altogether, or if there is a meaning, if I'm saying that there must be something beyond that, then same thing applies to my desires. How am I going to utilize them? What's the point of that? But why am I given with this much of desires, yet the only tool that I can apparently fulfill this is a free will, and doesn't even satisfy 1 out of 1,000 of my desires. Like, I cannot go to International Space Station anyways in my life with my will, with my salary.
Should we continue if there's no other point, comments, questions?
I was thinking about the analysis that
Could you speak louder, please?
Okay, yeah, sorry. I was thinking about your analysis, but all of that analysis we should understand as a wisdom. I mean, when you, for example, said as human beings, by nature we have desires and also needs, but he says he wanna go to the International Space Station. But for example, for me, it would be a motivation for me to say, oh, it's a dream. In some point in the future, I probably, if I work really hard, study, I don't know, it's a possibility to go there. But for example, for another person would be a torture because oh, I have the dream, but it's impossible because I don't know, it's to the negative side of that analysis. And to try to balance the positive or negative, that analysis should be wisdom. How you can understand if you wanna go to the International Space Station is possible, well, let's go. Trying to do that. But in the other case, if you don't feel that you are capable to do that, it's okay, but not a torture. Maybe I was thinking about that. Wisdom would be that analysis, how to understand the situation and don't feel bad about that. Just an idea that I was thinking about.
I agree your point of view that, your point of view is, being hopeful for the future. I totally agree with that. But when I look at my past, especially, like, I wanted to achieve a lot of things, maybe I achieved 5% of them. If I achieve 5% of what I desire to do, I will be glad, but maybe even not 5%. You have a lot of aims, goals, but you realize that they are not achieved at the end of the day. If you look at your past, what you planned always it's not happening as you planned. So maybe it might be the intuition. Otherwise, I agree that we should be hopeful for the future. Otherwise, we cannot live. We can just kill ourselves because we don't have any hope. But still, I agree with your point of view that it's gonna be a torture for us to think about this, especially the past.
I don't know, but maybe the word torture is like very heavy to say. I don't know. Maybe it's difficult, maybe it would be difficult, but like a torture. Oh my God.
When I was a child, so let's say my parents were mentioning buying about something.
Okay.
But somehow they were not able to buy that. I very well remember complaining to them, if you were not able to buy it, why did you even mention it in the first place then? Because if I had heard about it, I wouldn't have any desire for that. I wouldn't know about it. Now that you mentioned about it, I get excited about it, and you're not buying it. Why are you doing that to me? So the point was not to say that why didn't you buy it to me? Okay, it's possible that you were not able to buy it. That's okay. But why did you mention it to me then? You shouldn't have mentioned it to me. But in life, we are being mentioned with all those possibilities out there. So somebody is just attracting our attention with all beautiful things. So the Creator makes me, let's say, give it a name, somebody or God or whoever, make me desire something, and then He doesn't give me that.
Even when He gives you that, actually, as soon as you reach that, there is an instantaneous maybe satisfaction, but then you fall into the meaninglessness again because that you understand that whatever that aim was that you're striving for, that wasn't the answers to your needs or your wants. that is not the fulfillment that you were looking for. That's the realization that you have come.
So then we need to find a more substantial solution for that. So since this is my case, then the question is, why is he making me first get attracted with those stuff and not giving them to me? So what is the purpose behind this setup? Because this is a setup. This is a common setup for everyone. We always want something, and yet we only achieve 1 out of 1,000 of that. So why did he design it as such? What is the point? What was the point?
Learning. I mean, that's I believe in that. That learning got put over the table. The situations, needs, wants, etc. But say, oh, it's like an attraction. If you have a mistake doing something, that's the learning. Because maybe at the first time you said, oh no, I didn't must do that, something like that. Maybe like a proof, a test. I think that's like a learning experience.
I guess solution or explanation will change from person to person. For instance, if you are, let's say, a believer, it will change how you perceive it. If you are from a certain culture, probably it will change. If you are old, if you are young, right? From person to person, probably it will change. But there is something constant, something common for everyone, which is at the first look, on the surface level, it's absurd. It doesn't make sense. And then on top of it, once you start reading the situation in the name of God, then it becomes meaningful. Then it becomes a learning process.
Yeah.
But without such an reading it in the name of God, I guess it's something that we all can agree, regardless of our background or regardless of our beliefs. There is a mismatch between our desires and the power we have. They don't match.
Our power?
Yes.
So our power cannot fulfill the desires we have. Our power does not fulfill our desires.
So should we continue reading from Indeed, or we have 10 minutes? So maybe we should start reading from Indeed and also read the solution part. At least we have a glimpse of the solution this week.
Indeed, whatever there is in the world, there are samples of it in my being. I am connected to everything. It is for them that I am caused to work. The sphere of need stretches as far as the eye can see. In fact, wherever the imagination goes, the sphere of need extends that far. There is need there too. Whatever man lacks, he is in need of. That which he does not have, he needs. And what he lacks is endless. But then, the extent of his power extends only as far as his short arm reaches. That means, my want and needs are as great as the world, whereas my capital is as infinitesimal as indivisible particle. So, of what use is the faculty of will, worth 2 pence in relation to my needs, which encompass the world, and can only be obtained for millions of liras? They cannot be bought with it, and cannot be gained by it, in which case one has to search for another solution. The solution is this: to forego one's own will and leave matters to the divine will, to give up one's own power and strength, and seeking refuge in the power and the strength of Almighty God, to adhere to true reliance on Him. O my sustainer, since the way to be saved is this, I forego my own will in your way, and I give up my egotism. Then your grace may take me by the hand out of compassion for my impotence and weakness, and your mercy may take pity on my need and indigence, and be a support for me, and open its door for me.
I guess the first few paragraphs is something we already discussed. And your needs are endless, and they're so big, too expensive to buy. At the same time, your will, your own free will, is so small, powerless, cheap. And for example, just for the sake of example, for someone like Yusuf, whenever he tries to use his own will, he always fails. He always makes the wrong choice. So what is the point? What is the solution then, he says? And he said the solution is to forego one's own will and leave matters to divine will. And then he explained what it means. To give up one's own power and strength and seeking refuge in the power and strength of Almighty God, to adhere to true reliance on Him. I guess in the next paragraph, when he speaks as if making a dua, the supplication, he further explains, O my sustainer, since the way to be saved is this sentence I guess is important, I forego my own will in your way, and I give up my egotism. So the way I understand here is the part we were discussing last week. I guess it's becoming clearer, like what it means foregoing your free will. I guess he's saying that it means giving up your egotism, redirecting your will in his way. At the end, you have to use your will, but you will use it in his way. I forego my own will in your way.
Do you realize that when you say, like, I forego, like, my own will, actually, as you are saying it, actually, you are giving your free will?
Yeah.
So that really there is no such thing that you can just let your free will go. I think what really, I forego my own free will in your way, and I give up my egotism. So that's very key, like, point. So, like, I think that explains, it's not like I'm doing this and I'm doing this. No, it's just actually he's doing one thing and he's giving up on his egotism. That's what it really means.
You acknowledging that your free will, it was not your free will, it was not your choice that created what you are experiencing now.
You are acknowledging that you are being made.
Yes.
You are foregoing the free will that you used to think you have up until the middle of the text. Because up until the middle of the text, I was thinking that the free will is the weapon in my hand with which I'm going to conquer the world. Now I'm getting rid of this idea. So this weapon, because I have already seen that it doesn't work in this way. It doesn't give me anything. It doesn't achieve anything.
So you give up on your wrong perception
of
your life.
Of my life, of my freedom. Because my life, my existence all boiled down to my free will. It became like the indivisible particle. I couldn't just, I reduced it to free will. Because my perception of life, problem of life, everything boiled down to free will. I said, this is my last resort. If this is the only thing that I have, if I utilize this in a proper way, this is my last hope, then I can achieve something, and it turned out that it didn't mean anything. So now I am changing my understanding, my perception about this tool itself. So this is why I say I forego my free will is even my perception of my last resort was wrong, and I'm admitting that, and now I need to take it in a different way. This different way, we somewhat discussed, we can discuss this more, but how is it related to giving up with my egotism?
And going back, what we just discussed about the mismatch between desires and power, I guess, like connecting to this point, it is there to temper your freedom, to show you the reality of your freedom. So it's the Creator not only telling you that what is true or wrong, but He's letting you try your way, and you will see what is the reality of your freedom. What is the reality of your own power? Just try it. You will fail. I arranged everything so that you will fail and you will see your reality. And through this training, as you were saying, like through this training, you come to the point that you acknowledge the reality of your freedom. It's not there to fulfill your animal desires. It's there for some other reasons that we discussed about eternity.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة